Well, it's a little problematic in that because of this, my wife and I being ill, we were so grateful to be able to go over and get back in bed or something in between until we had to appear somewhere else. So I didn't get to see him very much. But I think it's wonderful that here in Frankfurt there's an organization that is promoting and advertising, if you will, post-production in all its different phases. That's great, anywhere. And I admire they were certainly handled in a very professional way. Everything seemed to work on time, basically. Dinner was good. Nice wine. It seemed to work just fine. Prepared to work for a rather long time in a very subservient position and or doing all the crap jobs in the neighborhood before you get a chance to do any cutting. When I started out, it was a rule that you had to work 8 years as an apprenticeship or assistant before you were even allowed to apply for a job. And then if you applied for a job, people would say, well, what have you done? You had 8 years experience but nothing to show for it, basically. So at that time it was very, very difficult. That rule is long gone now. So you can buy a Lightworks or an Avid or whatever, and you can call yourself an editor if you can get a job. But I would say prepare yourself for a long learning curve and start, if you can, get into a commercial house. Documentary doesn't make any. Don't think that you're going to walk into it and start working on a feature production right away. That, by and large, is not going to happen. And persevere, absolutely persevere. If you just stick with it, I can tell you, I can almost 98% guarantee that you'll make it one way or another. And don't, for the wrong reasons, put your nose up at television. Television is just a different size screen, and it's just, you have to, a couple of other things that you have to deal with, the advertising, but otherwise it's just as viable a medium as film. Well, there's no doubt it's become the electronic editing has changed everything, and broke all the rules. It's the way of the future, obviously. I just never go back to the old cut and splice and glue and gloves and scissors and all those things that I did for the first 30 years of my life. And it's wonderful. I had the way I transferred from the old school to the new school was that I had a director, Alan Pakula. I don't know if you know who Alan Pakula is. He's unfortunately since passed away in a very bizarre accident on one of our freeways. We had a picture called Pelican Brief with Julia Roberts and Denzel Washington. And again, we had a very short post schedule. And he asked me would I try cutting it electronically. And I told him that I had no experience whatsoever in doing that, and I don't know if I could adapt enough to make it worthwhile. And then he said, well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll take all of your equipment, your moviolas, your chems, or Steenbecks, whatever you call them, all your trim bins, all the equipment, benches and rewinds and all the splicing machines and everything. We'll take it all on location with us. We're going to New Orleans. And so that if you don't feel comfortable doing it, you can always go back to what you know already. I said, well, that's fine. Can't hurt to try. So the second or third day of shooting, the guy shows up with a machine. It was a British machine called the Lightworks, which I love dearly. And he sat down next to me and he said, what do you want to do? I said, well, I want to go from, what I really would like to do, I'd like to go from that image to that image. And he went, tink, tink. And I said, what did you do? And he said, well, that's all you have to do. I said, you're kidding. And I want to go from that to that. And he went, tink, tink. I said, take all that stuff that you have and send it all back. And that's what happened. 2 days after it was introduced to me, I changed. And it was a very easy, once I understood the machine, that took a few days. But now I'm a total convert. I would never go back to cutting on film unless I had to for economic reasons.